is when you're in those moments of rupture, to both be in the rupture and have the perspective that we will have later about the rupture, which is not to say not being in the rupture. One of the things I feel badly about in like when I wrote The Art of Learning, I spoke a lot about process and outcome, and it had a big impact in the chess world. And then what happened is there were generations of parents who had young kid chess players who their kids would go to compete, and the parents would say, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. All that matters is the process. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. And the kids are like putting on their armor to go to battle, mental battle. And chess is fucking intense. Like when you're playing chess, you're putting your mind, your body, your psyche, everything like you on the line. And if you lose, you feel shattered. Like that's just how you feel. If you're not trying your hardest, then we shouldn't even be talking about you. So let's say you are trying your hardest. You're putting it all on the line. It's on the line, and you lose, and you're shattered. Like every part of you you feel destroyed. So the kids are putting on their armor to go to battle, and the parent tells them it doesn't matter if I win or lose. It's deeply confusing, and the kids actually usually know that the parents are full of shit. The parents actually care so much, and they feel guilty about how much they care about their kid's result. They're telling their kid that to feel less guilty about the fact that they're putting their own egoic needs on their child, and it's all like, and the kids see it all. That's the hilarious thing. Is you get an 8, 10, 11-year-old, like they see it all. And they're like, Mom, give me a break. And the parents are just stuck in their guilt and absurdity. I've seen this so many times. So like the discussion of process and outcome is so subtle, right? Because yes, it's about the process. It's about the journey. It's about the long-term process. But if we don't care about the results, the process won't work. So we need to put ourselves on the line enough to be shattered, and the process is what really matters. But it's not that we can liberate ourselves from caring enough to be shattered, because then we're not engaged. And it is something about putting our egos on the line that is what leads to the growth surges that great competitors have, the ones who become virtuosos, right? And so then that stated, how can we experience the simultaneity of being shattered and having the perspective that this is probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me?
You have to be in a mode of theory of mind with yourself about your future self somehow. And this is what I think losses are so beneficial for, is that if you've had a couple of breakups, you realize that you can fall in love again. If you've only had breakups, perhaps you think, well, it always leads to a breakup, but you know that the process of moving forward is the only way to test that hypothesis again. Right. And so I think repeated failure is essential, right? Because with repeated failure means that there was also repeated fighting one ways back after failure. So yeah, I think sometimes, not to take us into a different course of story, but just very briefly, the first manuscript I ever submitted in graduate school, it took forever to get published. And it went from the highest of journals down to a good journal, solid journal, but it took forever. And that was so beneficial. I was crushing at the time, but my reward circuitry is built up around very long latency between effort and final outcome. I'm just used to long waits between figuring out what's going to happen. And actually, one of the weirdest things about podcasting or social media is that I feel like you go to, quote unquote, to publication so fast. It's like, whoa, like projects used to take 2 years, and then you get reviews, and then this, So I think your early devastating failure or failures, because you had a few of them in there.
Oh,
at
a
least,
lot more than a few.
Right? Probably set you up for tremendous frustration tolerance. And this, not just hearing, the words, "this too shall pass," they're helpful, but that's really something that needs to be experienced in my view.
It's a very interesting thing when you're talking about competitors, is what is the right balance between like playing up and playing down, right? Like how much do you want to build the confidence of a young competitor or artist or person, or any of us, young, whatever age, and how much do you want to be stretched a little bit beyond your ability so that your weaknesses are exposed, you have to take them on, and you have to grow. And getting that balance right is hugely important. And it's not simple. Like in a lot of boxing training camps are based around the boxer's confidence being everything. And you want them to feel invincible going into the ring, right? And then from another perspective, it's something very powerful about having a training camp that's so intense that all your weaknesses are exposed and you have to take them on. If you're not sparring against people who can expose your weaknesses, then you don't know what they are, and you don't have the chance to grow, right? I mean, I live at this point with trying to be at max stretch, without snapping, right? Like, for example, if I look at my foiling, like if I'm not falling enough during a foil session, then I'm not pushing my turns hard enough. And if you're just succeeding all the time, then you're not pushing yourself enough.